Today, I bring you a story. Not just a story, but a warning, a story about how one moment, one glance, one decision can completely break the line between expectations and reality. In life, we all believe we know what is coming next. We build plans. We trust people. We feel safe in our routines, but sometimes the universe does not follow our script. Sometimes, what looks like destiny is actually the beginning of a downfall. This story takes place in Seoul, South Korea. A city full of light, noise, dreams, and hidden shadows that no one talks about. At the center of it all, there is a girl. A simple girl. The kind of person who believes that staying away from trouble is enough to stay safe. Her name is Ji-eun. She never wanted chaos. She never wanted danger. She never wanted anything that could disturb the quiet rhythm of her life. But there is something no one tells you about life. You don't always meet the right people. Sometimes you meet the ones you should have never met at all, and once that happens, there is no going back. Ji-eun Park woke up like she did every other morning. The sound of her alarm filled the small apartment, mixing with the distant noise of Seoul already alive outside. Cars moving, people talking, life continuing without waiting for anyone. She stayed still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling nothing special about the day ahead. Just another routine day. Ji-eun, breakfast is ready. Her mother called from the kitchen. I'm coming, she answered, forcing a light tone that didn't fully match her tired expression. At the table, she ate quietly while her mother watched her with a concerned smile hidden behind her words. You've been studying too much lately. You should rest sometimes. Ji-eun gave a small smile. If I rest too much, I'll fall behind. Her mother sighed but didn't insist. After breakfast, Ji-eun prepared for university. Simple outfit, organized backpack, clean appearance. Everything about her life was structured, predictable, safe. That was how she liked it. Outside, Seoul was already chaotic. Students rushing, buses stopping suddenly, voices mixing in the air. Ji-eun walked through the crowd with calm steps, almost disconnected from the rush around her. But then something changed. At the corner near the subway station, she noticed a group of students whispering. It wasn't unusual at first, until she saw their eyes following someone instead of each other. Ji-eun slowed down slightly, curiosity growing without her permission. One of them laughed nervously. Another lowered his voice. That's him again. I heard he got into another fight. Ji-eun frowned, trying not to pay attention, but her gaze had already been pulled in that direction. And then she saw him, standing a few meters away, completely still, not looking at anyone, not reacting, just there, Kang Tae-hyun. Kang Tae-hyun stood near the entrance of the subway station like he didn't belong to the movement around him. People passed by him quickly, adjusting their steps as if unconsciously avoiding his presence. Ji-eun noticed it immediately. It wasn't just that he was quiet. It was the way silence seemed to follow him. She tried to look away, but her eyes kept returning to him. There was something unsettling about the way he stood still, hands in his pockets, head slightly lowered, as if he was observing everything without actually looking at anything. A student bumped into Ji-eun's shoulder. Sorry, he said quickly, running off without waiting for her response. She barely reacted. When she looked back again, Tae-hyun had turned his head slightly, and for the first time, their eyes met. Ji-eun froze. It was only a second, maybe less, but it felt heavier than it should have. His gaze was calm. Too calm. No smile. No emotion. Just a quiet intensity that made her instinctively uncomfortable. She looked away first. That surprised her. Why did she look away first? Her heart beat a little faster, annoyed at herself. She wasn't someone who got affected easily. At least, she thought she wasn't. When she looked back again, he was already walking away, slow steps. Hands still in his pockets. Like nothing had happened. Who is that guy? Ji-eun whispered under her breath without realizing it. Behind her, two students continued their conversation. He doesn't talk much. People say he transfers schools a lot. And wherever he goes, something happens. Ji-eun frowned slightly. She shouldn't care. She knew that. Yet her eyes followed his silhouette disappearing into the crowd, like something in her mind refused to let go of the moment, and deep down, without understanding why, she felt like that was not the last time she would see him. Ji-eun tried to ignore it. She really did. She told herself it was nothing. Just another strange student with a bad reputation and too many rumors following him around. Seoul was full of people like that, stories that grew bigger than reality, but then, something happened that made it harder to convince herself. During her first lecture of the day, Ji-eun sat near the middle of the classroom, taking out her notebook like usual. The professor was already speaking, filling the room with a calm academic tone. Students were settling in, whispering, scrolling on their phones. Ji-eun lowered her head to write, trying to focus, then she heard it. A few students behind her were whispering again. He's in this class too, right? Yeah, I think that's him in the back. Ji-eun slowly paused her pen, her fingers tightened slightly. She didn't want to look. She really didn't, but her curiosity won again. She turned her head just a little, and there he was, Kang Tae-hyun, sitting at the very back of the classroom, completely alone, same calm posture. Same distant expression. Like he didn't care where he was, or who was around him, but this time. It was worse, because now he was closer, and she couldn't pretend he was just a stranger in the street anymore. A student beside Ji-eun whispered quietly, almost excited. That's him. Don't sit near him. Seriously. Ji-eun frowned. Why? The student hesitated, then lowered his voice even more. People say everyone who gets involved with him ends up in trouble. Not immediately. But eventually. Ji-eun let out a small breath, half disbelief, half discomfort. That sounds like a rumor. Yeah, the student said quickly, that's what everyone says. Until something actually happens. Ji-eun turned back to the front, but her focus was already broken, and behind her, without her noticing, Tae-hyun had lifted his eyes, not toward the professor, not toward the board, but directly toward her. Ji-eun felt it before she even fully understood it, that strange pressure in her chest. Like something was watching her more closely than it should. She slowly turned her head again. Kang Tae-hyun was still sitting at the back of the classroom, but this time. His eyes were not wandering anymore, they were fixed on her, directly. Ji-eun froze for a second. It wasn't a casual glance. It wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. Calm. Unmoving, like he had been waiting for her to notice. Ji-eun quickly looked forward again, pretending to focus on the professor, but her thoughts were already scattered. Her pen moved across the page without meaning. Her heart, however, was no longer calm. Why is he looking at me like that? She thought. Minutes passed, but it didn't stop. She could feel it. That gaze was still there, behind her, like silence that refuses to disappear. Finally, Ji-eun couldn't take it anymore. She turned slightly again, just enough to confirm what she already knew. He was still looking, and this time, something changed. Tae-hyun tilted his head slightly, not a smile, not a threat, something in between, like recognition, like he already knew her. Even though they had never spoken, Ji-eun's breath tightened, the professor's voice faded into background noise. The classroom felt farther away, like the space between them had shrunk without permission. Then, Tae-hyun slowly broke eye contact. He lowered his gaze. And wrote something in his notebook. Ji-eun tried to ignore it, but her mind refused to let go. A few seconds later, her phone vibrated on her desk. She frowned. No one ever texted her during class. She hesitated, then slowly picked it up. The message was unknown. No name, no profile picture, just one sentence. You shouldn't have looked at me first. Ji-eun's fingers went cold. Ji-eun stared at her phone, her fingers frozen around it. The message was still there, glowing faintly on the screen. You shouldn't have looked at me first. Her breathing slowed without her noticing. The classroom around her kept moving, students writing, pages turning, the professor speaking, but everything felt distant, like sound was coming from underwater. She slowly lifted her eyes. To the back of the room, Kang Tae-hyun was still sitting there, same position. Same silence, but now. His head was slightly turned away, as if he had already stopped caring about her existence again. That made everything worse. Ji-eun looked back at her phone quickly. No name. No number. No trace. Her grip tightened. Her thoughts started breaking apart. If it was really him, then he had done it without moving, without being seen, without leaving a single proof. And if it wasn't him, then someone else was watching her just as closely. She locked her phone slowly and forced herself to face forward again, but the calm she had this morning was completely gone. Something had already shifted inside her life, and she could feel it clearly now. This was no longer just coincidence. It had started, quietly, but it had started. On a deeper level, we saw in this episode that Ji-eun's normal life was disrupted by an unexpected encounter and a mysterious message that changed everything. The question now is, who is really behind this connection, and how far will it go before it becomes dangerous? Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.